Hey, my beautiful souls, welcome back to If I Knew Justy, the life coach. If you are new here, my name is Justy. I am a life coach. A big hi, a big welcome. Come on in. So if you are new to my channel, we do a little bit of everything from organizing our spaces to organizing our mind to organizing our emotions and making sure we are tackling any past wounds, self-worth, and just getting self-aware. That's what this whole channel is about. And today we are going to be tackling and speaking about letting go. So tell me if you agree with this phase. So once someone told me by the time we reach 30 years old, we are all damaged goods. A lot of times when people hear that, they get offended. They're like, excuse me, you're calling me damaged goods? But to be honest, there brings a lot of truth to that statement. And I see it every day, whether it's conversations with people I know, people passing and coaching, but the statement rings true. And I'm going to tell you why. One of the biggest reasons that happens is because we do not face our emotional wounds properly. Now, when I talk about letting go, I'm talking about things of the past. A lot of times we remove ourselves physically from a situation, or we are removed physically from a situation, but we let those situations occupy and take up a lot of space in our mind, in our emotions, and in our heart, and in our soul. And it's up to us to make sure that once that happens, that we are acknowledging that they are there, because if we do not, they will surface in other ways and create other problems for us. So in my coaching practice, what I find is a lot of times when we are blocked, we are spiritually blocked. And what I mean by spiritually, I mean spiritually. When we are spiritually blocked, that means that something is preventing us from growing, changing, and evolving, and actually living our best life, living our best selves. So you might be thinking, well, that's not me, but you might be the person that's still holding on to resentment from the past. You might be the person who's still angry at someone from the past. You might be the person who's still angry at your parents for one reason or another. Childhood wounding runs really deep. And a lot of times people think just because they were brought up in a two-parent household, or they thought their family life was pretty normal, that they have no childhood wounding. And that's actually inaccurate. I find that about 98% of us have at least some type of underlying unconscious childhood wounding, and that will rear its ugly head real quick in your adult life. A lot of times it is so deeply rooted and unconscious that you don't even know it's there. A lot of people have relationship issues and issues relating to others, and they have no idea why, and it's rooted back into their childhood. Besides that, everything that we endure from birth to by the time we hit 30 years old, it takes a toll on us. We go through a lot. We go through a lot of rejection. We go through a lot of disappointments. We go through a lot of heartbreak. We go through a lot of losses, whether it's loss of, of a person or loss of things that we just want, right? We go through a lot of deaths. We go through a lot of transformations, right? We grow physically, from one stage to another. And with that comes a lot of changes. And sometimes we're not prepared to really take on what those changes really endure. Right? No one's telling us, well, this is how you're going to lead your 20s, and this is how you're going to lead your 30s, and this is how you're going to lead your teenage years. Like, there's no guide for it. So we do the best we can with what we have, the tools we have equipped with us. But sometimes that is not enough, and there's a lot of scarring that gets left behind, and no one really teaches us how to let it go, how to really release ourselves from pains from the past and emotional baggage that we take along with us. And emotional baggage is this emotional pain that we haven't processed properly, and we just drag it into our new phase of life. So today we're going to be talking about that. I'm actually going to be reviewing some tips. But if you're one of those people that have been ruminating on something over and over and over, that means you are trapped. If you try to go towards something and it always goes back to a memory or insecurity of the past, that means that you are trapped. And that's the first step to really starting to get yourself into alignment. You have to be able to really acknowledge how repeating this scenario over in your head, over and over and over, or going back to that memory, how it's hurting you. Number two is to make the commitment to really face it. A lot of the times when we are stuck on something, it's because we haven't healed it properly. And that could be for any amount of reasons, right? It could be that we are too distracted. It could be that we dive into distractions drinking and partying and other people and sexual exploitation and sexual desires and temptation, and it goes on and on and on and on and on. Okay? We need to make sure that we are facing things head on. When you're looking to heal yourself from anything that has taken a toll on your life, you cannot go under it. You cannot go over it. You can't go from the side. You can't go from behind. The only way to get through it is to go through it. The only way to get to the other side of the tunnel, right, is to actually be able to face it. Be brave and say, you know what? Enough is enough. This has hold and took a toll on me for too long, and it's time to face it. A lot of the time this happens with childhood wounding, right? It's like something that has happened to you and it has impacted you greatly. It could be something like neglect, right? Or you felt like you weren't loved enough or properly. You didn't get enough of the nourishment that you needed or you desired. So whatever it may be, something of that sort needs to be addressed. If it's not addressed, it's going to surface and create chaos and conflict in your relationships and in your life, and you will suffer for it. So the only way to really, really get over and let go of something properly and put it to bed, put it to lay, so you could release those restraints that's pretty much in your mind, right? A mental prison, is to face it and face it head on. And that could be any way that you choose to do it. Some people have minor things that, they're just afraid to face, and they might need a little bit of guidance, like coaching, like what I do. And some people might be a little bit more severe where they might need therapy, right? It might be something as simple as, just letting out your feelings and talking about it, talking about the pain. A lot of people don't like to talk about their pain. They feel weak when they do it. They feel vulnerable. And it's just, think about it, like it just boggles my mind, because this is the way we were taught. This is like a societal thing. It's like we cannot speak about our pains. Like if there's something going on in the family, it's like, shh, don't tell anyone, because it makes the family look bad. You know what? It's time to actually put an end to those things and really start talking about your feelings and what has happened to you and things that you are still holding on to that you can't let go. And that could be anything, like I said. It could be childhood wounds. It could be, a past relationship. It could be a past hurt. It could be a past friend. It could be a past situation that you had where someone has disregarded your feelings and not treated you fairly, right? It could be anything. It could be anything. Everybody's story is going to be different. It could be, it could be a death. It could be a loss of a loved one that you still can't process and you still haven't let go. It could be anything. The spectrum from this can go from, small to pretty, really great. The next one, and this is going to be the most powerful thing that you ever learn in life, is mastering the art of acceptance. Accepting things how they are and how they have played out in your life is so important and is so powerful. It comes with this power. The power of acceptance is like immense. When you learn to master the art of accepting anything and everything that has happened to you in life, you become a super powerful being, because you are not letting anything weigh you down any longer. And we all know when you have weight on you that is greater than the weight of your mass, of your body mass, it is going to sink you in. And that's what happens to people in real life. It's like they're walking on quicksand, trying to get to their destination, trying to meet goals, trying to meet their purpose. But the reason they can't do it is because they are so weighed down by things they cannot accept. So one of the biggest reasons why we can't accept things in life is because majority of the time we don't understand it or we don't have closure, right? So those are two of the biggest reasons, right? And another reason is that people are just not honest with themselves. They don't want to face it. So they're telling themselves lies, right? They're feeding not only themselves lies, but other people's lies. Are you okay? No, I'm good. Everything's good. Meanwhile, you're drowning inside, but you don't want to seem weak. You don't want to seem vulnerable, or you don't want to be judged. So you don't tell people the truth of how you are suffering in silence. So once again, the biggest way to really get through and start letting things go is to stop suppressing your emotions. You might be surprised by sharing your situation and sharing what has happened to you, sharing what has wounded you, sharing what has hurt you, sharing what has made you feel less than, sharing your disappointments, how other people might be able to relate to that and say, oh my God, I know how you feel. Like something similar has happened to me. And it might not be the same situation, or it could be. There could be someone who actually has lived the same experience and can really give you words of wisdom. And there's others who might not be able to really relate to the situation. Their situation might be different, but the outcome and the way they felt was similar, right? Like there's so many situations that could be different where you felt less than, or someone questioned your worth, or you questioned your own worth, or you found there was some disappointment in your life, right? That somebody might really might understand. So really accepting and being honest with yourself and being honest with others that you're not okay. Sometimes it's okay to not be okay. Everybody wants to be okay. But the truth of the matter is when you go through this life, it's a hard life. It's harsh. There are times where we are not going to feel okay. And it's okay to say, listen, I am not okay. I don't feel good. I don't feel powerful. I don't feel worthy. I don't feel enough. I feel like I'm drowning in my emotions. I really don't know how to take hold of them. And I don't really know how to let go of the situation. Guess what? That's okay. Everybody has been there. Everybody. I don't care who you are. A lot of times people are like, oh no, I can't share this because others will not understand. Right? So really accepting your truth. You're being honest with yourself is one of the most powerful things that you can do. Now, the next one is going to be about blame. A lot of times we cannot let go of situations because we are placing blame on others or placing blame on ourselves. So releasing yourself or others from blame is super important. And now this could be extremely hard depending on what you're trying to let go. I know all of this is hard. It's not easy. It's not easy. And trust me, I know because I have been through it. Like I tell everyone, majority of the people who coach about these things is because we have been through it. It is easier to teach what you know and what you have overcome. Conquering blame is going to be super important in your journey. Sometimes, like I said, one of the reasons why we can't let go is because we don't have closure or we don't understand it. Like we don't understand why these things have happened and we don't get it. Like we don't understand why we have to lose certain people. We don't understand why people let us go. We don't understand why people reject us. We don't understand why people couldn't love us. We don't understand why we can't love. We don't understand why certain things play out the way they play out when we're like good people, or we think we are good people, right? Because sometimes the problem is us, right? We are projecting our issues out into others. Whatever the reason is, the point is that we have a hard time comprehending the ways and the laws of the universe. Like why? And that could keep us so stuck. We have to be able to adapt to the mindset that there's just certain knowledge that's beyond us, that's higher than us, that we just cannot comprehend, and just comprehend that whatever has happened, it is for our best interest, and whatever has happened, it is what it is. You cannot go back, you cannot change the past, right? So the only thing you can do to move forward is to accept it and to release blame. It's no one's fault of why certain things happen. Even people who have wronged you, and even people who have hurt you or hurt others or took others away from you, there's always a reason behind it that sometimes we will never get the answers to or ever comprehend, right? Majority of the time we can go back as far as we can to understand why a wheel is spinning, and sometimes we don't get the answers. Why? Because to every action, there is a reaction. So no matter how far you get into your investigation when you're trying to figure something out, or you're trying to get closure, you're trying to understand it, you might not have all the information in front of you. And there might be actions and reactions that played out in this whole cycle that you might never understand because it goes way back. Like the depth of it goes so deep. Right? To give you an insight of what I'm talking about is like, let's talk about someone who's hurt you, right? Someone who's done you wrong. And you want to know, like, why did this person do this? And it's hard for you to let it go because you don't understand it, or you never got proper closure, right? So one thing to really understand is when people hurt you, it's because hurt people hurt people, right? And you don't know the depths of that person's hurt. You can never understand it. They might tell you, but you're never going to understand it unless you lived in that person's shoes. Let's say you're trying to let go of a childhood wounding and you just can't comprehend maybe like why a parent treated you a certain way, or why they couldn't love you a certain way, or why they were sometimes neglectful, or why they weren't the nourishing parent you wanted them to be, or the attentive parent you wanted them to be, right? And you can't really understand it, right? But to really understand the life of another, we have to journey in it. We have to journey in their shoes. And you have no idea about all the situations that has happened in your parents' life to create the person that they have become. And then to understand the person they have become, you have to understand their parenting, who parent them. And then it goes back. Oh, it goes really back, like deep down there, like who was that parent's parent? Who was that parent's parent? And how deep does this hurt and wounding and their parent style go? That's what I mean. That's what I'm talking about. Like, you have to go really back there. And if you were to really uncover the depths of how deep some certain wounding is, then you might be able to release that blame, like blaming your parents for certain aspects of your life, of how they parent. That's what I mean by releasing blame from yourself and others. And just understanding that every action has a reaction, right? For every parent that parent another, they wounded them and they created blocks and issues within them, and then the cycle continued because every action has a reaction. Does that make sense? I think it does. Okay, so we're gonna go on to the next one. Now, the next one, after you release blame, is all about going down the journey of forgiveness, right? So forgiving others, forgiving yourself. One of the hardest things to do is forgiving ourselves, because we hold ourselves to a different caliber than we hold other people. Like, we're able to have compassion for others, but when it comes to us, it's really hard to do that. And that's all about really getting into alignment with self-love for yourself. When you don't love yourself properly, you are going to be super harsh on yourself. You're going to have this perfectionist mentality that everything you do needs to be perfect. But the truth of the matter is that we are human beings. We are not perfect. We all have imperfections. And sometimes we're going to mess up. So being able to forgive yourself, and not only yourself, but others, is super important. And a lot of people get stuck in this one because they don't truly understand what the art of forgiveness is all about. Forgiveness is about releasing yourself from the bondage of somebody else's mistakes. When you don't forgive, the only person you harm is yourself. You hold on to resentment. You hold on to anger. You hold on to rage. You hold on to what you create. Spiritual blocks. That is what a spiritual block is. When you are filled with resentment and envy and jealousy and anger and all those low vibrational emotions and energy, you bring yourself down. You create spiritual blocks for yourself. You create all these blocks all over your life. And not only do you do that, but you create health issues within yourself. This is the thing. When you don't forgive another, what you are truly doing is punishing yourself for something someone else has done. When you really think about it, it sounds insane. Why would you punish yourself for the person who harmed you or faulted you or treated you unfair or didn't know how to nourish you or didn't know how to love you or didn't know how to treat you, right? You're punishing yourself because you're holding on to all these murky emotions. Meanwhile, that other person might not even know that you're holding on to it. They probably moved on. You're the one suffering inside. You're suffering inside by holding on to not being able to forgive people. And this is really hard because it depends on what someone does. Another thing about forgiveness that people always get messed up is that forgiveness requires you to give another person an opportunity. That has nothing to do with forgiveness. Forgiveness is just releasing yourself from bondage, releasing yourself from holding yourself back with these bad and ugly emotions, right? If you want to give that person another shot, hey, that's up to you. but it has nothing to do with the process of forgiveness. If you're looking for more information on forgiveness and how to take the proper steps to do that, I have a few videos, I'm going to link it here, about forgiveness, about the process, about the art of it. And you should definitely look at my video that I have on victim mentality, because that's another thing we do when we hold on to the fact that we cannot forgive. We create a victim mentality that we are the victim. We were the victim of somebody else's malicious behavior, which we might be. We might be a target. But the thing is, after you have dealt with the pain and you keep yourself voluntarily in this type of hurt, and you keep on telling the story over and over and over and repeating it over and over and over and not releasing yourself from it, and you're not able to let it go, you slowly creep into a victim mentality and you become a victim. You become a victim and a product of something someone else has done to you. And what it creates, once again, spiritual blocks. It blocks you from moving forward. Now, my last one to really let things go from the past is changing the narrative. Majority of the time, the stories that we are telling ourselves is not even the proper story of what went down with what we have experienced. So you have to be able to change the narrative. I'm going to give you an example. Let's say you were dating someone and that person cheated on you. And the story you tell yourself, and the reason why you can't let go of this pain and the damage that it has caused to you, is because you believe that you were not good enough. You believe there was something about you that was not good enough, and that's the reason why this person went and cheated on you with another, why they needed to have all these options and things of that sort. Okay, so how do you change that narrative? Well, sometimes it's not that. Sometimes people gravitate to others because there's something unfulfilled within them. Sometimes people are so damaged from childhood wounding that they don't know how to properly love. Sometimes people have the wrong idea of what it truly means to love, so they go out through life searching and running after superficial things. The woman or man who has this hot body, who has money, who has all these things that at the end of the day is not going to make a difference contributing to their happiness, because all of those things are superficial and all of those things fade within time. Here's another one, the old scenario of a man cheating on a woman because he feels inferior. He does not feel good enough, so he needs other people to validate him. And the way usually men do that is through women and sex, to fill their dark hole up. So it wasn't that you were not enough, it was that you were too much for them. So what they had to do is go seek less. They seek less to fill themselves up, because they already know that you know them. You already know every side of them, so they can't trick you. So they go out to go manipulate someone else. Or they think this is the way I'm going to get fulfillment. You see how that narrative totally changes everything, and now it has nothing to do with you or your self-worth, and it has to do with the other person's self-worth and the fact that they felt too small, or they felt not good enough, or they felt they couldn't compete or compare to you. So the narrative is very different, and the feelings you're going to feel when you change the narrative is going to be different. Because now if I think that someone left me for another because I was too good for them, I actually made them feel inferior, then I'm not going to be questioning my self-worth, because my self-worth is up here. That's not why they left me. They left me because their self-worth is down here, and I'm going to feel completely different about the situation. And I'm going to feel differently about letting them go, because now you see clearly that this person wasn't for you, and you're not hanging on to the thought that you were not good enough and what's wrong with you, and now you're not creating blocks in your other relationships and situations and going on and on and on, right? So this is what I mean. You got to change the narrative. Look at things clearly. See it clearly. Maybe the way you're looking at things is not the way it played out in reality. So guys, these are some tips for letting go. Like I said, everybody's situation is going to be different. A lot of people they're just holding on to resentments from the past. A lot of people are holding on to arguments from the past. A lot of people are holding on to childhood wounding from the past, forgiving their parents from the past, forgiving other caretakers from the past, having a hard time letting go of abusive situations from the past, and that could be anywhere. That could be from mental abuse to verbal abuse to physical abuse to sexual abuse, whatever type of abuse you endure. And if you have, my deepest condolences, because that's not easy. It's not easy. And those are the kind of things, when you endure those things, that you really need counseling. I truly believe you need counseling to get through it. And a lot of people use counseling and coaching to help. Coaching helps you boost your self-esteem, remove blocks. It is not therapy. Therapy is a whole different ball game, right? But it can really help you to get into alignment, right? Getting your stuff in order. Because when you suffer through things of that sort, and you suffer from letting go in general, you are going to create, like I said, spiritual blocks, and they're going to appear in ways of disorganization all throughout your life, and conflicts throughout your life. Relationship issues, money issues, is going to be issues within your house, not being organized, having issues just relating to other people, co-workers, bosses, so on and so forth. I think you get my point. The point is that it creates havoc throughout your life. So letting go and releasing those burdens, that baggage, dropping the weight, and letting yourself run free, and just diving yourself into other situations while having all those emotional restrictions or conflictions in your mind is the best route to go. So that's all I have for you today. If you're one of those people who are struggling with letting go, depending on what your situation is, and you want to look into getting for more support from me, I always have my information linked in the description box if you wanted to go into coaching or find out a little bit more about it and how I can help you release blocks, then that's where my info would be. But if not, then I will see you in my next one, and I wish everyone an amazing and fabulous day. Mwah. Until next time, love and light. Bye, guys.